The problem is, we let 14 million people in, we don't know who they are. Just the cartels alone, we don't have enough staff in this country to find all them and hunt them down. So the problem is so big, it's hard to get someone to focus on the key pieces of it because it's just above and beyond what everybody's ready for, right?
Encounters of suspected terrorists drop at the Mexico border. Yeah, no shit, because we changed our policy. As Canada border shock sees spike. FBI Director Kash Patel told Congress that arrests of known or suspected terrorists have dropped sharply at the U.S. Mexico border, but have surged at the northern border with Canada. Since January 20th, only 2 suspected terrorists were caught crossing from Mexico, while 34 were apprehended at the northern border. Patel credits improved southern border security for the shift and warned that dangerous actors are now exploiting the less secure northern frontier. In the first 5 months of 2025, 143 suspected terrorists were arrested at northern points of entry, on pace to match last year's record high of 358. Patel also noted rising fentanyl smuggling through Canada, though volumes remain far lower than those at the southern border. He called for increased vigilance and closer collaboration with Canadian authorities to address these growing threats. The question, how concerned, and this ties right into the Homeland plot, and actually both questions we talked about earlier, how concerned should we be about the operational capabilities of terrorist networks using Canada as a staging ground, and what do we need to be doing differently to counter that threat?
Yeah, I mean, at least according to Al Qaeda, they prefer the northern border, they prefer the southern border, they prefer legal visas, right? They don't care. Now, the numbers have gone down, of course, on the southern border because we've slowed down the crossings, so there's less people coming over, but the numbers are a little bit of semantics, as you can imagine, because you just saw Farage. So I gave his name and identity to the U.S. government as a Libyan, right? So let's say they watch listed him, even though I doubt they did. He comes to the southern border with a passport from Syria named Mahmoud, and I think he's even 6 years younger on it. Hey, I guess we could all lower our age.
About, yeah, there you go.
So they're not going to know it's him. So he'll get through the border just fine, and they won't mark him as a terrorist. So we have to keep that in mind. Now, Canada has always been a spot for the terrorists. One, it's just a lot easier to get into Canada legally and come here legally. Two, I don't know if you remember the millennial plot. So that terrorist went to Canada on a fake passport, was living in Canada, right? Then put all the bombs in his car, comes over our border, gets caught with the bombs. But he was in Canada on a fake passport, right? And this is a continued problem between Canada and United States. I complain about people coming over our southern border with these fake documents. People coming to Canada all the time too. So they're an equal threat. And I really think if we're focusing on the southern border, ignoring the northern border, we're not making a lot better. So they need to have equal enforcement at both.
As somebody who lives 60 miles from the northern border, man, I mean, so, and I have friends who are at the southern border. I've seen a lot of the new border wall construction. I've just the infrastructure there, the cameras probably, God, it was every 20. It was impressive from the time that I had seen it there previously, because I've been to sections of the border where, like, yeah, that it's right over the other side of that water, and those are people looking at us right there. Like, okay, those are very different. Where I live, though, holy cow! I mean, you're talking huge, huge sections of, I'll say, relatively from a human population perspective, sparse and desolate, and I don't even know if you would know you were crossing into one border or the other. There might be a sign, there might be a fence, but yeah, it doesn't seem like it's getting a lot of traction. And it almost seems like if you were to, to pour water into a bunch of funnels, but you plug up one of those funnels, it's just going to pour over and come somewhere else. I think we'd have to have almost a complete reshift in how we view that northern border.
Yeah, and when you talk about fentanyl, it's also very interesting. Fentanyl has long come in from Canada. It's a huge problem. The Canadian government's not dealing with it. But Al Qaeda is using fentanyl pipelines on our southern border and our northern border to move people, including suicide bombers, to move weapons. They move fully automatic ones, and then to move in the suicide vests. So also, if you focus on the fentanyl networks, it will also bring you to other crimes, to include terrorism. And we have a really hard time crossing over these things, right? The fact that cartels move terrorists, they move Chinese. I think just in general, we need a whole strategy to view this all as a threat, not to bucket things, right? And we could deal with it a different way. Now, yes, a one guy walking over the Canadian border. I grew up very close to Canada, super easy. But at the end of the day, these are people, they spent 10, 20,000 to come over. There is going to be some sort of professional movement, right? There is a signature. And I do think at least the bigger threats, we can go after them because some money was invested in their movement.
Is it easier for an organization like Al Qaeda to get somebody into Canada or Mexico? Let's say the borders, everything, if they were equal, both north and south, which one of those countries, Canada or Mexico, is it easier for them to get them into so then they could then try to cross the border?
Well, I don't know which one would be easier. I just want to explain something. For the last 20 years, Al Qaeda did one thing that was very interesting. They integrated themselves into the travel agencies who do the Hajj travel. So, right now, Al Qaeda owns a very large percentage of Hajj travel. So, they have relationships and they own travel agencies. They have relationships at consular desks all over the world. They have members who became ambassadors, right? So they have access to bring people into a lot of countries. Now, for a long time, Canada was easier to get visas and stuff, but as we know, Mexico is easier to come in illegally. So they're kind of different situations, but they don't view we want this one or this one. It's like the way, whatever way you can get them in, go for it. And the interesting thing is, after the October 7th attacks, Al Qaeda, tricky Taliban Pakistan, the Afghan Taliban, even the Uzbeks, they said, hey, the U.S. is going to close the border after what happened in Israel. Go, go, go. So there was a huge surge of terrorists that came in at the end of 2023. Like, I don't even think we have any understanding of the numbers. So that's another thing. Don't sit and wait for them on the border. They're in this country already. We need to go finding them in our hometowns. Like the focus only seems to be finding them at the border.
Yeah, I guess that would be you would hope that would be like a filtering process, but any filter is not perfect, and there's always going to be people that slide through. Or it's even true of selection processes. And there's bad apples in every large group of people. It's interesting. I remember not too long ago, especially when Canada actually was kind of around the tariffs and Trump talking about reasons for wanting to tariff, and they brought up fentanyl. Canada's like, no, there's no fentanyl at all coming through right now. And I do episodes with people who are directly tied, or at least the cartel members will talk with them, and people that have gone and actually seen cartel facilities that are in Canada and watched them, I don't want to not mule them across, but the logistics of getting them to a remote gas station where they get out and then it's onto a trailhead. And then from the Canadian government, you hear, yeah, that's not happening. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's 100% happening in Canada. Precursors are coming in. There's more than just, someone throwing it in the back of a car and moving it. This is a very large movement. People are making a lot of money off of it. And the Canadian government has long ignored threats. They've ignored a lot of the terrorists they brought into their country. I don't know if you know, but 2 of the attackers at our Benghazi attacks were Canadian. A third was supposed to be there, but he got caught up in Mauritania, was in prison. When he got released from prison, he went home to Canada and they let him stay free, even though he was going to go kill basically a U.S. ambassador. So they don't take a lot of the threats serious in the way we do. And as you can imagine, we trust them for our northern border and we shouldn't. And Trump was right to say that.
I'm Katarina Schultz. I'm a relentless investigative journalist who spent the last few years embedded in the heart of chaos of the world's most dangerous drug war. You might have heard my reporting on borderland narcosis. Now, I'm taking you to the front lines. I've built trust on both sides, with traffickers, law enforcement, and the very people trapped in between. I'm taking you into the heart of Mexico's cartel war with fast, raw updates from the heart of the borderlands. Subscribe now to Borderland Dispatches with me, Katarina Schultz. And don't miss my regular appearances on Borderland Narcosis with Vince Rocco Vargas on YouTube at This Is Ironclad or wherever you get your podcasts.
You mentioned trying to find these individuals in our own towns. Do you think that law enforcement, local or even state law enforcement, is necessarily even trained or equipped or tooled to be able to do so?
No, I mean, think about it. If you get lucky and maybe you have someone in your police force that was some linguist in Iraq back in the day, yeah, you're way ahead of the curve. But most law enforcement, let's say you pull over a guy, his tail lights out, he hands you his Syrian passport, he talks to you. You have no idea that
Mm.
he's Egyptian in how he's speaking, right? Like it's just they're not trained in that way. That'd be very difficult. You'd have to be like an Arabic linguist just to catch just that small thing they're lying about. So I don't think we're ready for it. I think people see a document and they believe it and believe it's true. They're now registered in the United States under these fake documents. They're legally in our system in those names. So we've corrupted our own databases and our own holdings, even when law enforcement goes to run a name.
So then how do we get ourselves out of that? How do we correct this system?
I mean, I think I really like the deportations, and I do think we should choose certain countries, and we should be doing mass deportations from those countries. Like, so for I know for Al Qaeda, they prefer Syrian passports, Afghan passports, and Turkish passports. Like, why are we not going back in, re-vetting those people, doing enhanced vettings, right? Because we did let a lot of bad actors in. The problem is, we let 14 million people in, we don't know who they are. Just the cartels alone, we don't have enough staff in this country to find all them and hunt them down. So the problem is so big, it's hard to get someone to focus on the key pieces of it because it's just above and beyond what everybody's ready for, right? So sadly, it's really going to take probably more attacks on U.S. soil till it gets prioritized.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on the local law. I mean, again, I'm viewing it through the optic of where I live. Actually, where I live would be a bad call. There is a large contingent of retired JSOC personnel up here. It would be the fuck around, find out spectrum up here might be a little bit skewed, but yeah, I mean, what an unbelievable task. And let alone, if we wanted to go back and vet those individuals, most of these people were given, NTAs, notice to appears, that could have been as far as a decade in the future. Who knows where I mean, they're in the wind. I don't know if it's possible to unwind that at this point.
Yeah, that's why they say fixing the last 4 years is going to take 30 years. It's not a lie when people in the Border Patrol say that. And I think Americans need to buckle up that this is a long problem to fix. This isn't going to be fixed in 4 years, right? So we also have to keep leaders in this country focused on dealing with all the threats we brought in, because this isn't just terrorism like we've talked about. It's gangs, cartels, the Chinese, a lot of bad actors have come over our border.
Yeah, yeah. It does make you want to lock yourself in your house the more you think about stuff like this. I think I had asked you this when I had you on for Change Agents. If you were a betting woman, as far as, let's say, legitimate Al Qaeda operatives, even like a ballpark estimate, what would you estimate that are in the United States?
So for Al Qaeda, they say they sent 1,000 for this attack, and I do believe that after seeing the numbers in Israel. The bigger number, though, is interesting. ISIS says they have over 3,000. So that's kind of scary, because I don't know if you saw when Joe Kent was kind of doing his discussion in front of Congress. I still don't think they've confirmed him. He said the National Counterterrorism Center is tracking on 600 for ISIS. So think about it. ISIS number is 3,000. The U.S. government 600. We're really behind on ISIS. I don't think we're collecting all on the 1,000 Al Qaeda. So we're in a really bad spot.
And meanwhile, 9/11 was what, 19 hijackers?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think they're going to be storming a cockpit anymore, but those are huge numbers.
Yeah, remember, they're going to take the planes down this time with suicide vests, so they're just going to do it in their seat. So you're not really going to get someone you can pin down, because you're not even going to know what's happening.
Yeah, 19 versus, I don't know, 1900. Ooh, that's a tough optic to wrap your head around.